Hello to my handful of subscribers. Anybody else interested in this particular brand of shoe? So this is going to be my last video talking about these. I've had them for about 2 years now. So final impressions and such. So I'll just say right off the bat, if all you're wondering is whether I still recommend them after 2 years, the answer is yes. And you can just turn off the video and send in your order now. Otherwise, I'll talk about just a few things. You can tell these have worn in pretty well. So they still look pretty good. I mean, obviously, there's creasing and such that's going to happen, especially here behind the cap where, the cap's not going to be as flexible. The creasing happens, I tree these anytime I'm not wearing them, they're treed. So, creasing happens in any shoe that you're actually going to wear. So these get, each pair of these gets, in general, about worn for about 5 or 6 work days a month. I cycle through each of them every day, so I never wear. They always get 2 days of rest between wearings. That just helps me keep from always wearing one pair, and it keeps them looking nice and so on. So we'll talk about a little bit of how they've broken in. You can see if you probably wouldn't know, but these are cheapo laces. I actually need to replace them again. I broke a lace and I had to just pick up what was locally available. So I'm going to order a nicer set on Amazon for that. But that was basically there's a lot of the holes that they have in this particular pair are a little sharp edged, I guess, and it just kept wearing on a lace, and finally one of them snapped. So that's just kind of how that happened. On this pair, actually with laces, so the laces have held up fine, but I have to admit, though they look nice when they're straight, and I obviously bar lace, ultimately I think I would prefer a cord lace to the flat laces. So these look fine. Most people don't even notice, but it's just a personal thing. I think they'd look a little sharper with a cord lace on it than when this flat lace rolls up. And I think it's kind of one of those things. I know it's there, so it bothers me. Probably, I'd say 0.1% of people actually notice, but that's just a personal preference. Soles, I'll show you the bottoms here of the burgundies. These will look pretty much the same as the black ones. But you can see they've worn pretty well. I don't take particularly excellent care of these. I mean, I will admit, is that that's a little cut. I don't, I'm not an abuser of my shoes, and obviously I keep them fairly decently polished and conditioned and such. But the fact is, my shoes have to live with me. I really don't want to spend, hours a week maintaining shoes. So I don't really wear overshoes during the rain with these, mostly because it may rain in the afternoon. I may not know it. So, I didn't bring my overshoes. I don't want to carry them everywhere. In winter, I do wear them, just because of the salt and sand and such. And the salt's pretty harmful to these. But otherwise, they've held up very well. Obviously, thickness-wise, I haven't lost a lot of the depth. The toe has shaved a little bit, but not terribly, and the heel has basically barely rounded there on the back. I pronate just slightly, and so there's a little bit of rounding on the heel, but they've held up very nicely. These guys, however, this shoe, just about where that hook in the C is, I had a tear, and I suspect it's because these were wet at the time, and then I stepped on a pebble or a decent-sized rock and tore right through. It was about a 2-inch tear in the sole. So I just got these back yesterday, actually, and our local cobbler did a great job. Put on half soles for me and got them back into shape. He said they were in excellent condition, was his quote, and asked how long I'd had them. Told him about 2 years. He said, well, they're doing great. And I have 3 or 4 more resoles left in them. And so far, they're holding up very nicely. Break-in wise, obviously they broken by the time I did my last video, but they are incredibly comfortable. I'm quite happy to wear them all day long at work and so on. I mean, they're not as comfortable as wearing no shoes around the house, but they are otherwise very comfortable. And they've broken in very nicely. They look very sharp. I still occasionally get compliments or questions about them, especially the double monks. Those are kind of the most unique. Most people in my area would not even realize that that's a style of shoe. Whereas the cap toes are very common style, and mostly I just get complimented on keeping a nice pair of shoes and well polished. The burgundies get a few comments. People kind of like those. Burgundies aren't super common around here, but yeah. So the long and the short of it is that there is the money I spent for these and the maintenance that they require is comparatively low to what I would have expected. And I've been very happy with them. They've performed very nicely, and I expect to get at least another 10 years out of them, I would think, if all things being equal and them going as they are. So 3 to 4 years between resoles seems about right. So I suspect about 2 years from now, these will probably need a resole if I don't tear it like the other pair. So if I can do 4 years per and I can do 4 resoles, we're talking 16 years plus the 4 for the first set of soles, talking a 20-year pair of shoes. So often, as my cobbler says, that they what really ends the life of the shoe is not actually the leather upper being damaged or anything like that. In a pair of shoes that's well kept, it's actually down in the welt, and as the welt starts to wear, there comes a point to where you just can't continue to sew that upper onto a pair of shoes or a pair of soles there. So it just isn't possible to continue sewing it to the same shoe, and that's when you have to replace the whole shoe. So, and whenever that comes up, I plan on doing it with the same ones, maybe a little bit different style or something, but certainly with another set of the baseline Meermins. These are more than adequate for my needs. So if you have any questions, comment below.